The future in education is in constant change. We've never seen this kind of change ever before in the history of higher education. And that's not only the United States, but worldwide. There's so many external pressures in higher education right now with the demographics of fewer students. We have disinvestment in higher education from our states. We have Generation Z that has totally different expectations. The millennials didn't have any problem racking up $2 trillion of debt, but the next generation has a concern with that. And so you've got parents and students demanding more. You've got more pressure from fewer customers going into higher education. You have less money coming from the public sector. So all these things are intersecting right now into mass change. And so that mass change in higher education is how we can adapt and how we can change. And quite frankly, it's about these innovative, disruptive changes. So some we've heard today, and we're going to hear more throughout the conference, of what are those disruptive things that actually will improve some of the metrics at our institutions. What are we changing to satisfy Generation Z, their needs? What are we doing to deal with the contraction of fewer students? And so all of this is putting so much pressure on us, and it's not about collapsing under pressure, it's about taking advantage of that opportunity and working your way through these crises. Winston Churchill says, never miss a great crisis. And arguably, higher education in the United States is going through a crisis right now, and we have an opportunity to come through a crisis as a much better sector, a much better university.
I think the future of education is the same as the future of the world. Okay, we'll continue to evolve. There are going to be different ways of learning and teaching, and that means that we as facility leaders have to be adaptable to those changes. So I can't tell you what the future of education is going to look like, but I know that we have to be prepared to adapt to it.
Wow. Well, there's a lot of emerging issues that we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with them at an increasing pace and rate. So we'll be talking about that later today, about the pace of technology in particular. But lots of interesting issues going on, generational changes, financial pressures, and a redefinition possibly of higher ed. So to that extent, this is a very critical time for our profession.
I think higher education in general is on the precipice of becoming something better and bigger and more important than it once was. I think our last presentation about innovation is hugely important. The Internet of Things will be a major piece of the future higher education. And at Virginia Tech, you know, we are poised with the Innovation Campus in partnership with the Commonwealth and Amazon, their Headquarters 2 program. We're getting ready to start $1 billion campus in the National Capital Region, which is 4.5 hours away from our main campus. So I think all of higher education is going to move in that direction at some point. The days of the traditional brick and mortar, you build an engineering building, you build a math building, business building, I think those days are gone because we can't afford it anymore.
Well, I think, you know, in the end, we're making a big difference. You know, higher ed is all about helping people achieve their potential. And so for me, it means a lot. You know, I've got kids in college as well, that I'm contributing towards helping students, you know, in the case of Arizona State, 100,000 students get their degree, you know, maximize their potential, not to mention the research that we're doing. So I think, you know, there's a lot of value added to what we're doing. We're not just building buildings, we're not just taking care of infrastructure. The bigger picture of higher ed is really advancing society, helping people, you know, improve themselves, which is rewarding.
Education, you know, you think about the population around the world and you think about the gaps between, say, people in the United States versus people in Eastern Africa. Education is the answer to close that gap. As we are able to educate globally and educate people from all areas of society, we have an opportunity to sort of lift all of us to a better place.
You know, really having an impact on our students in the future. The universities are about research, discovery, and education, and we really are shaping the future generation for our country and the world. So being part of that, I think, is a great feeling, and it's a great mission.
Higher education, there's going to be more of a balance in the future, obviously with the online growth and more of distance learning opportunities. You see in the space of the competition across. I think that we're going to have to adapt to that, but you have to do it by providing an environment the students want to come to, because at the end of the day, the best learning occurs where they can share ideas together, and sometimes online doesn't quite get that. So building more flexible space in the future from a facility standpoint, having amenities that the students want to come to, I think are keys to the future of higher education.
That's a terrific question, and I think if you look back 5 or 10 years ago, there was a lot of perspective that higher education was going to be just simply remotely done. People sitting in their PCs and sitting at home in their pajamas and so forth. But I don't think that that's the case at all. I think that we've completely evolved in terms of that perspective and that methodology. And we're really in a place where having the physical plant and having the resources and having the technology as platforms for people to come together and to study together is of immense importance.